Hello there folks, welcome and welcome back. This is Pxy-LIVE. This is not a regular weekday stream, this will be later today, but I have an idea here that I've studied. I haven't become a teacher like a school teacher, but art school teacher in that case, but I have studied nonetheless some educational concept, and I've learned about many concepts about education, and of course that relates to tutorial making and this kind of thing, right? Despite all the technologies that we are doing some really bad job in education through the internet. But one reason of that, of course, is because the distance, right? No real time, and those things have critical limitations to the, let's say, how the human being operates in principle by default is by the human being needs to make things in order to learn. It's not just watching, reading. Of course that will teach, but the best thing usually, especially when something is artistical, it is a know-how thing, or it's an experiential thing that you need to feel with your own body, physical, corporal or corporeal, it depends. So it needs to, or spiritual, whatever, it needs to go deep in. So to have those things deep, of course we have to put our hands or our minds or whichever thing we have at our disposal into action. And this is I think, personally, what I think is that because of this, we can call this bluntly human nature, right? It's important, or human characteristic for learning. It is important to have the entire body being active. So just not standing watching a tutorial, but in real time go and make it. But the tutorial is stupid, right? Because the tutorial is just, oh yeah, we watch this, that maybe. So it's not real time, although some artists will be able to do this real time. So here is what I want you to try out in this thing. This is experimental, of course. I think there's a lot of potential to this, despite the screens is a big issue, because, for example, if I'm using Blender, I'm not supposed to be using Blender with all its better feature with a diminished window. If I just have one screen, and the screen is also not super big, so there are a lot of problems, right? And these are all, let's say, user interface problems, not only on Blender but of computers and screens, right? It's all garbage, right? Garbage technology that we are sold as if it was the best thing of the world, and those things they become conventional. No one questions it, or even those that questions it's not enough. So what we're gonna do here is something slightly different. Maybe you have learned. So let's pick, for example, yeah, I'm using my own channel here because it's simple. Let's say that I go here on live, and let's say that I have this one tutorial live stream that I've made yesterday. So look at this. There is one feature in YouTube, I think they've added it. It is this mini player, and here is where it will come in handy. So I have this mini player. See the shortcut? Maybe you don't see the shortcut. Is hold on, is I. So I can click here, or just press I. It will return right to the larger player. So go back to toggle, right? So I. But I cannot close the window here. It will just well, I cannot close the window. See, I've just lost it. However, what I can do is that I can minimize the screen. So let's try something else. yeah, this will be my own screen. That might be confusing, so let's go back and let's get some video, maybe this one. Okay, so now this time I won't close this tab. I will minimize the tab, and here is my well, it is here. Apparently I'm not being able to okay, so I'm having a problem here in Windows that I'm not being able to control this very well. It is snapping if I then let's get this into, oh, there's another button here. Ah, that is it, folks. So you see that can be a bit confusing. I cannot still close this, but I'll still close this too. Okay, so it cannot do that, right? So what we need to do then, this time I'll use another video, something that might be some sort of let's see, I can be this one, Blender. So I don't have sound here, so you see I was wrong. There is one step further, which is this other button which doesn't have a shortcut apparently. Yeah, and there doesn't reduce some code here, which is just too confusing for this approach. So like maybe this just label select, yeah, so this is better. So there are no big text, toggle edit mode. Yes, this is good. I've reduced a lot of stuff there. And so in this process the idea will be, so this won't appear for you, this little screen, right? That will just be you put this where you want in your Blender, in your UI, and then so if you don't know the tutorial, that if you use UBS, just in case, I'm gonna mention it. I think it's this one. Yeah, so this guy here made this incredible tutorial here, very short tutorial, and will teach how to make this thing function. So I'm just mentioning here. And so basically with this approach, I believe tutorial making can be completely differently taught. So if you are still following, if you are watching this crazy video, educational experimental video, let's make a test here. So let's start with the cube mesh object. Okay, object mode, right? Then we yeah, sometimes these things get okay, but let's ignore this. Let's go to edit mode, so tab into edit mode. Let's pick this vertex. This is just mimicking how a tutorial would be. I want to see if we can follow this in real time in a good state. Let's select these two vertices, then let's get the menu here and invert selection, right? Invert, and here we scale with S, scale down, and apply, right? Left mouse button click, then G, Z, move up, and apply, left mouse, R to rotate, then X, rotate, this is wrong, ESC. Let's change these to align this with some crazy technique. Let's say, for example, cursor. Let's use this. Let's change the orientation here to geometry. Click in this face. You see that the 3D cursor is a little bizarre now. It is tilted. into the direction orientation of that particular plane, because we got this geometry thing. Now I can go back here to select box, because otherwise we might accidentally still be clicking and taking the cursor off, and which is bad. We want here. So get the select box, and now what we're gonna do is still on edit mode. I still have these vertices. I'm gonna change the transformation orientation. Instead of global, let's get some cursor, which is so the cursor, the 3D cursor, has orientations. We don't see which are the z, y, x of it, but we see the some axes there, at least some directions, orientation, right? So I'm gonna G, Y. I'm gonna, yeah, so you see this is following the, apparently the, okay, so instead of Y, let's use Z instead. No, so this is the X. Okay, so now I'm scaling, or I'm grabbing this along the face, so all the vertices are moving aligned with that face. All right, and so we can keep building. So 2 to get some edge. Let's get only this edge. Extrude, extrude with E. Then why not X? And so you see it following the plane. Let's validate. Then I'm gonna get the 3D cursor again. Let's place into this face here. Or maybe, do you have something else? My rotation is different here because control comma, sorry. This will bring us to the preferences. I want now to just change this on key map, radio button, preference panel. Instead of pan orbit, I was using this for grid span, so I have to change it all the time. So if anyone knows a solution for that, please save preferences and close this. Then yeah, let's pick this plane here. So I'm gonna place the cursor. You see, geometry is still here. Place it there, and now I still have this. I think I can just extrude it. So extrude Z. No, extrude X. No, extrude Y. Oh yes, it is the Y. We don't see it, but it was being extruded. No, I was mistaken. Sorry, folks. So apparently, oh, of course, I didn't understand what I'm doing. So let's try again. Extrude X. No, Y. No, Z. Oh, of course, you might have noticed I've got this back. So let's go back to transformation rotation to cursor. Extrude on the X axis. Now it is parallel to that plane, or at least to the if the plane is 3 trigons instead of 1 quad, it's the multi-plane thing. Maybe the 3D cursor then will, as we click, it will find a specific plane, even though the quad is, yeah, so the quad can be multi-planar, which is crazy. So I don't know how it will interpret, Blender will interpret that, if the way that I try to explain or something else. But okay, so see, only trigons are definitively planar in 3D space for this how do you say, geometry, traditional geometry, Euclidean geometry. The Blender. Yes, so that's it, folks. That was the demonstration that I wanted to do, and we'll see the results. So if you find this interesting, feel free to comment and see if you check if you could follow. Yeah, make the experiment if you can. That will help me a lot, and give me some feedback on this thing. And I want to see if that can become maybe the new norm for making and following tutorials, right? Because if I know this is unlikely, but maybe this can become some second nature, right? I'll because it's much better, I think, when the tends to be much, because it relates to active. You put your hands directly in practice. The tutorial makers should take more time to do step by step, but imagine the advantage if you can follow right strictly. The only one disadvantage that you cannot just, you need to give some file or provide something, unless, because if you start with something that is already readied and it is unfollowable, maybe it's a personal project you cannot share, the tutorial maker, maybe it's a different file, so whatever. And so certain steps won't be able to be followed straight ahead, right? So there are many disadvantages, but the main advantage is that this approximates tutorial making and tutorial following, right, to this concept of action education. I think is that it's in English the equivalent, educação ativa in Portuguese. So what that means is that the kids or the people who are learning, especially the students, right, they are directly engaged into fabricating, into making stuff, and to exercising stuff. So they're not just listening to some stupid class that no one cares about. I'm joking, of course, folks. But this is what tutorials have become, right? They are just some junk thing that you follow, like it's I'd say this is even not ethical, right? It's unethical to make people how do you say, abide to that, to make people slaves to this system. Like, it's completely old school. Like, it's a concept of tutorials that we got from the 200, maybe more than 200 years ago, centuries ago. So it's like, and we are still repeating the same garbage, thinking we are doing good job, right? But that's not true, folks. This is like, okay, this is theoretical, but there are empirical evidence also that this approach, it's more engaging for the students, for kids, for everyone in principle. It doesn't mean that it will substitute all sorts of tutorials, but what I really mean here is that this conception of what a good tutorial is, we're still very, very far from, right, from good tutorial making. We can learn, sure, but and another reason to make this video is also because the nowadays, after especially the pandemics, all that, forced isolationism, all those kind of stuff, social isolationism augmented drastically for a time, but that it created the necessity sometimes to make digital courses, right? From distance, right? How do we call this in English? Education from distance, whatever the technical name is. And that is also very, very hard to make people engage into that properly, because with the distant, things tend to become much harder. Many educational things, learning, teaching things, it's all becomes much fucking harder. And so this is why we need to make extra effort and extra developments in this field. It's an open field because no one has ideal formula. It's like we're living in the stone age of these technologies, we could say, even. And if we have enough time, if humanity has let's say civilizations, the human societies have enough time then to grow, to develop, then it will be possible to go further into that. So that's it for what I wanted on this stream, folks. Thanks for watching. Hope you find this interesting, curious topic indeed. And feel free to give me some feedback, whatever you think about this, positive, negative, neutral, or critique, or some insight, or if you like this approach, if you think, oh, this can totally work. I tried from your minutes ago that we were exposing how that would work. So please consider giving some feedback to me, and thanks for watching, folks. See you soon, and happy blending, happy learning, and happy teaching, because even teachers learn. They are the first to learn, right? See ya, folks.